Ji-hoon suddenly finds himself in a new world where he possesses a strange, miraculous panel. This panel contains every kind of item imaginable. Casually, he buys a bottle of water and a loaf of bread, and the next second, the items magically appear before him. This unique skill is his special ability granted to him after being summoned to this new world. His classmates are powerful warriors. Some wield sacred swords, while others are masters of sacred magic. But Ji-hoon feels like a side character, his skill merely an online supermarket, useless in battles against demons or wars. Despite this, he is brought before the king at night. The king's behavior and palace seem shady and suspicious to Ji-hoon. When the king realizes Ji-hoon isn't a useful hero, he dismisses him with a small hush money payment. Upon reaching the marketplace, people mock his strange clothes. So he decides to buy new clothes first and then gather information. Later, he rents a small room in a guest house. Grateful he wasn't forced to become a hero. His plan is to leave this country as soon as possible. Sitting on the bed, he accidentally activates his attributes panel. His stats are clearly displayed, and he has two skills, appraisal and item box. He opens the supermarket panel and pre-orders water and bread, thinking his body might not adjust well to the new environment. But when he tries to pay, an insufficient balance message appears. Below, he notices something like a coin slot. He inserts a silver coin, and the payment goes through. The most shocking part is the delivery system. It's faster than in the normal world. The items appear instantly after payment. Though he lacks combat skills, this ability is priceless in practical terms. As long as he has money, he doesn't have to worry about food or drink. He even considers earning enough to return home. The next morning, he decides to head to the border town of Kiers. He gets the last seat in a horse-drawn carriage, sharing it with a merchant. From the merchant, he learns that both appraisal and item box are rare skills, so he resolves to keep them hidden. The merchant agrees with his decision to cross the border, as the current kingdom's atmosphere is tense, and a border closure seems likely. When Ji-hoon arrives in town, he finds transportation has already been suspended. This strengthens his resolve, but he's afraid of monsters in the jungle, so he visits the guild and hires an escort team, costing him 8 gold coins. Ji-hoon enjoys cooking, so he handles meal prep. He pulls out a portable stove from the supermarket, lying that it was already in his item box. He prepares soup and bread for everyone. The team is impressed by his cooking skills and says the journey is now worth it. One day in the jungle, they encounter monsters. The team leader, Werner, and the swordsman, Vincent, are fierce. They quickly cut down 2 monsters. Ji-hoon is shocked. Later, Rita spots a red boar. The team kills it, and some of the meat is stored in Ji-hoon's item box. At night, Ji-hoon makes boar stew, adding ingredients from the supermarket, and serves it to everyone. Even Franca, who dislikes pork, asks for seconds. Everyone requests repeat servings. Out of curiosity, Ji-hoon appraises the dish and discovers the supermarket ingredients boost stamina and mana. He worries that if anyone finds out this secret, he'll be forced into servitude for life, but glowing eyes watch them from the shadows. The next evening during dinner, everyone is suddenly startled. When Ji-hoon turns around, a terrifying beast stands before them, the legendary magical beast, Fenrir. Fenrir demands, "Whatever you've made, feed me." Ji-hoon immediately offers the entire platter, but it's nothing for Fenrir. He keeps serving dish after dish until all the meat is gone. Fenrir is satisfied but declares he'll form a contract with Ji-hoon. At first, Ji-hoon refuses, knowing living with such a powerful creature means zero freedom. But seeing his party members' reactions and feeling Fenrir's threatening presence, he reluctantly agrees. After the contract is signed, Fenrir suddenly becomes lazy. Ji-hoon is shocked that simply cooking well earned him a legendary monster, one that eats as much as 10 people combined. Ji-hoon names him Phil and demands he hunt his own food. The team doesn't mind Phil eating their meat, but Ji-hoon wants him to be independent. This earns him their respect as he's giving commands to Fenrir. Later, Phil catches a huge bird monster, one so powerful it's normally beyond anyone's ability. It's highly valuable at the guild. Ji-hoon admits he doesn't know how to dismantle it, so Phil allows the team to butcher it, leaving the meat for himself. Ji-hoon prepares the bird meat teriyaki style, golden fried, oil reduced, and stewed in sauce. When the dish is ready, everyone enjoys it. Since Phil's appetite is enormous, his portion is served last. He devours 90% of the bird. Finally, the team reaches the border town of Fenning, but soldiers stop them because Phil, a dangerous creature known throughout the kingdom, is with them. Ji-hoon and Werner talk to the guards, show the contract, and assure them Phil won't harm anyone. Only then are they allowed entry. Inside the city, everyone shows their guild cards, but Ji-hoon doesn't have one. So he pays an entry fee of 5 silver coins. His plan was to live a simple life, but with Phil, everything has become complicated. Now, Ji-hoon's story is spreading across the country, possibly even reaching the king. He decides to tour this world and make the best use of his supermarket skill. Rita suggests he join both the merchant and adventurer guilds to travel tax-free, buy in bulk, and gain monster protection. As Ji-hoon ponders this, a messenger from a noble, the Lind Frontier Count, arrives, wanting to recruit him. But Phil immediately senses their selfish intentions and scares them off with a powerful aura. Later, Ji-hoon parts ways with Werner and the team. Walking down the street, he notices people fearfully avoiding him. Now he has many plans. Unlike Phil, who only cares about food, Ji-hoon has grand ambitions. He heads to the Merchant Guild first, where the receptionist welcomes him warmly. She patiently explains the membership is divided into 5 levels. Ji-hoon decides to start as a travel merchant and stall vendor, beginning at the lowest iron rank. His Merchant Guild card is processed easily. Returning home, Ji-hoon immediately starts cooking. He buys a bag of rice and prepares a nice rice meal for Phil. Using garlic-flavored sauce from the supermarket, he serves it. The moment Phil takes the first bite, he demands more. When he takes a second bite, he notices the taste is different. Ji-hoon reveals he used different flavored sauces. Phil tries them all, but loves the garlic one the most. After feeding Phil, Ji-hoon makes red boar cutlet rice for himself, perfect in color, aroma, and taste. Watching him eat, Phil gets greedy again. Ji-hoon remarks, he's never eaten anything like this before, but today he's enjoying it fully. The next morning, Ji-hoon goes to the guild to sell Sichuan pepper and salt from his supermarket. Shockingly, their quality is declared supreme, usually reserved for the king. The guild master offers 14 gold coins. Ji-hoon is surprised because in the real supermarket, these cost only 10 copper coins. Misinterpreting his reaction, the guild master raises the price to 17 gold. Ji-hoon realizes the profit is huge, but knows he can't repeat this method often. Next, he visits the Adventurer Guild, but without Phil, people treat him lightly. The receptionist is cold, but he still gets his card. Excited, he immediately picks an herb collecting quest. Back home, Phil yells, "Feed me!" and demands the previous steak sauce, but Ji-hoon refuses because Phil always wants to try new flavors. Curious, Ji-hoon checks Phil's attribute panel and is stunned. Almost every stat is maxed out. He mutters, "I cook every morning because I've brought home a giant glutton." After becoming an adventurer, he must complete at least one quest monthly. So Ji-hoon goes herb collecting. The weather is cold, but his mood is good. Phil's only concern, is my stomach full? When the previous food runs out, they split up. Phil hunts, and Ji-hoon collects herbs. Before leaving, Phil casts a protection spell on Ji-hoon and says, "Keep lunch ready." Ji-hoon replies, "I got emotional for a second." Thanks to his appraisal skill, Ji-hoon easily collects herbs and starts preparing lunch. With the meat gone, he buys cheap pasta and canned tomato sauce from the supermarket. When Phil returns, the spaghetti's aroma instantly lifts his mood. He's brought another wild bird. He wants the teriyaki chicken again. Phil says, "There are more birds I left elsewhere." After the first bite, Phil exclaims, "What is this? Soft noodles like tree vines, but the taste is completely different." He dives into the sauce, and Ji-hoon laughs at his funny expression. Phil hunts in areas with insane level monsters, including half-beasts, which make Ji-hoon uncomfortable. But Phil says, "People in town eat these too." They pack all the bodies and head back. Phil dislikes Ji-hoon's slow pace and says, "Sit on my back." Ji-hoon feels proud, but the reality is comical. At the Adventurer Guild, after delivering the quest, he earns 9 silver and 3 copper coins. He asks, "Do you buy half-beast bodies?" When he points to Phil outside, the once cold receptionist suddenly gets excited. She quickly composes herself, and a burly man takes Ji-hoon to another room. When Ji-hoon unloads the bodies, the man is shocked. They sell everything except the meat, finalizing the deal easily. Outside, Ji-hoon tells Phil, "If I can help you, I'm happy." For dinner, Ji-hoon considers cooking half-beast meat but hesitates. They look too human-like. He decides, "Forget ethics, fry it." Using leftover pasta ingredients, he coats the meat in egg wash and fries it. Golden crust, crispy outside, juicy inside. Phil happily devours it all. Ji-hoon hesitates, but after tasting exclaims, "Damn, this is heaven." The next morning, he returns to the guild and receives a bag full of gold coins for the meat. The burly man explains, "Half-beast eggs are highly nutritious, and red boar skin, teeth, etc. are valuable materials. Plus, we found magic stones inside rare monsters." Rumors about Ji-hoon spread, and he decides it's better to leave. Phil doesn't care as long as he gets 3 meals a day. They camp in ruins one night. Ji-hoon declares, "We have gold now, so dinner will be royal." Just seeing ready-made food images from the supermarket makes Phil drool. He prepares a huge tray of dishes. Phil exclaims, "This is heaven." Ji-hoon makes a black Wagyu steak, small in quantity but top tier in taste. After eating, Phil declares, "I feel like I can crush any enemy now." Ji-hoon appraises him and sees Phil's stats have literally increased by 1.5x. Phil heads to the forest to practice, leaving a protection spell behind. Meanwhile, Ji-hoon buys a comfy bedding and says, "Today, I'll sleep properly." Phil feels so powerful he solo kills everything from small birds to chimeras. The next morning, Ji-hoon wakes up to this surreal scene. All this happened to a random summoned guy running an online supermarket who accidentally adopted an eating alarm clock. Phil brings a dog bowl at every mealtime. Today, Ji-hoon fries chicken snake meat with creamy sauce. Phil says it's like eating chicken and wild duck at once, but he still insists, "Wild bird is best. I'll bring more next time." Curious, Ji-hoon asks, "Do you use magic or claws?" Phil replies, "Claws, teeth, tail, everything." When Phil demonstrates his strongest skill, sealing magic, excitement sparks in Ji-hoon Ji-hoon's eyes. It's his first time seeing real magic. He wonders, can I learn magic too? Just the thought thrills him, and he checks his attribute panel. He has a tiny bit of magic power, nowhere near Phil's monstrous level, but better than nothing. Ji-hoon asks Phil, how do you use magic? Phil says, for wind magic, just think it. For fire magic, think it. Ji-hoon tries imagining it, but the result is a rock falling on his head. Thinking isn't enough. Practice is needed. He heads to an open field to experiment. Phil thinks he's gone crazy. Phil explains, if you don't circulate mana in your body, magic won't activate. He helps Ji-hoon feel the actual flow. For the first time, Ji-hoon senses a magic surge. Phil mutters, this guy is really weak. He adds, battle is the best training. Ji-hoon panics, I don't want to get hurt, but Phil decides to warm him up with a few goblins. Instead, he brings the entire goblin tribe. Ji-hoon is forced to fight. He throws fireballs from a distance, which works until he slips on a rock. As he falls, goblins attack. He thinks, this is it, but a magic shield activates Phil's protection. Phil says, this is a free chef. Can't let anything happen to hit him. Ji-hoon throws all-out magic but exhausts his mana and faints. Phil saves him in time. When Ji-hoon regains consciousness, his heart still races, but he's happy. He's learned his first magic. He killed a few goblins and leveled up. Phil brings a goblin king's corpse with a magic stone inside. Ji-hoon asks, what do we do with this stone? Phil replies, sell it for money. Ji-hoon thinks, great, with money I can buy real meat, the true culprit, from the supermarket. Phil demands beef. Ji-hoon refuses, no, you finished it all last time. Phil stays hungry. Ji-hoon skips cooking and serves ready-made bread. Phil takes a bite, not bad, and finishes the whole bowl. Ji-hoon says, don't eat too much sweet stuff or you'll get worms. Phil boasts, nothing affects me. I'm blessed by the wind goddess. Poison, disease, nothing works. Ji-hoon thinks, I wish I had a goddess's blessing too. The next day, Ji-hoon enters the city with Phil. Guards mistake the giant wolf for an attacker. Ji-hoon calmly explains, showing his guild card. Everyone is shocked. A level 1 adventurer tamed Fenrir. Ji-hoon stays silent. Let them misunderstand. Easier entry. In the city, people stare at Ji-hoon strangely. He looks for a map. Leaving Phil at home, he visits a bookstore. A beginner's magic book costs 7 gold coins. The store doesn't have a world map. The library yields nothing either. When he returns, Phil is starving. Ji-hoon buys 2 ready-made combos from the supermarket, chicken skewers and pork cutlet. He feeds Phil and makes rice with pork cutlet for himself, heating the cold cutlet with rice and sauce. Heavenly. Phil gets greedy again. The next day, Ji-hoon asks experienced adventurers for a map. Some are rude, but when he buys them drinks, they turn friendly. He asks about flags and borders, then mentions the map. A bald adventurer says, I have a legendary map, just 1 gold. Ji-hoon pays. Later, he learns the same map sells for 1 silver at the guild. He shrugs. What's the difference? More gold will come. He decides to travel east to the coast. Phil's mind is preoccupied. Food, Phil declares. The wind goddess says I need dessert weekly. Ji-hoon thinks he'll justify eating anything. Phil devours everything in 3 bites. Ji-hoon realizes why Phil contracted with a human. Now he's part of the same chain. One day, Phil takes Ji-hoon to a lake. Ji-hoon thinks, the sea, finally. Phil says, I want fish. Ji-hoon asks, where's the fishing rod? Phil casually casts a thunder spell. Fish float to the surface, stunned. Phil collects them in a bowl. He points to a weird fish. This one tastes tingly and crispy. Its color is odd. Ji-hoon appraises it. Poisonous. He refuses to cook it. Phil says, I'm immortal. Ji-hoon retorts, I'm not. He plans to grill smaller fish. From the supermarket, he buys butter, cream, mushrooms, and condiments. Phil gets greedy. I'll eat too. Ji-hoon says, no supermarket meat for you. A minute later, the delivery arrives. He cleans the fish, wraps it in foil with butter, onions, and spices, and slow roasts it. For the bigger fish, he makes French-style buttery grilled steaks. After finishing the buttery French-style fish, Ji-hoon prepares various fish dishes. Phil is so hungry he eats the fish without unwrapping the foil. Ji-hoon explains, you're supposed to unwrap it first. When he does, the aroma is irresistible. Phil devours over a dozen plates. While washing his face, Ji-hoon steps on something cold and soft, a tiny slime. Curious, he touches it. Cold, elastic, and soft. Appraisal reveals it's only 3 days old, a newborn. Excited, the slime clings to him. Ji-hoon wonders, is it hungry? But all the food is gone. The slime picks up an empty bottle and eats it. Shocked, Ji-hoon stops it from devouring the kitchen. He names it Shi-yi, unknowingly forming another contract. The slime appears in his status panel. After training, the kitchen sparkles. At dinner, Ji-hoon serves a huge meat platter, including a portion for Shi-yi. Everyone enjoys it, asking, can we have another bowl? That night, Ji-hoon watches Shi-yi work and Phil sleep. He compares them. This one's actually useful. The next morning, Phil stares at the sky while Shi-yi says, go wake master. The wind goddess had sent Ji-hoon a divine message. If he offers a world dessert weekly and prays sincerely, she'll grant him abnormal state immunity. Ji-hoon realizes this is all for sweets, but he kneels and prays with the offering. The sweets vanish in a flash, appearing in the wind goddess's hands. A red bean cream pineapple bun. She devours it instantly, abandoning her plan to savor it for a week. With the blessing, Ji-hoon uses magic more confidently. He carves grooves in trees. When mana runs low, he eats chocolate for an ultimate refresh. He shares with Shi-Yi. Phil smells food from afar and demands a share. The wind goddess watches their every move. In her realm, she enjoys the sweets. When Ji-hoon takes out chocolate, she decides, no more talking through Phil, I'll speak directly. Ji-hoon casually says, I want to learn magic, and Phil takes him to a labyrinth dungeon. The goddess is excited. New project, Phil assures him. This dungeon is safe, I checked. High mana concentration makes it ideal for earth magic practice. Ji-hoon tries to run, but Phil tosses him inside. Just the dungeon's air makes him queasy. Phil says, this is fast learning. Shi-Yi encourages him. Ji-hoon thinks, if I might die, let's have a royal dinner first. He buys ready-made food from the supermarket, tasting each item. Leftovers go to Shi-Yi and Phil. Shi-Yi levels up by eating non-edible items permanently. Ji-hoon's stats instantly rise by 2 levels. Confident, he pulls out a huge sword and explores the dungeon. Shi-Yi joins his training. If Ji-hoon moves too slowly, Phil pushes him. Go! Inside, they encounter a slime, just like Shi-Yi. Ji-hoon hesitates, but Shi-Yi spits acid, dissolving it instantly. Phil says, that's high concentration acid, Shi-Yi's special. Further in, they find 2 more slimes. Ji-hoon uses a food shot attack, killing one. Shi-Yi handles the other. Ji-hoon notices the slime's corpse is absorbed by the dungeon floor. Phil explains, this dungeon is like a living being. It absorbs corpses for fertilizer. On the next floor, they face horned rabbits. Nervous, Ji-hoon swings his sword wildly. Phil reminds him, you learned magic, right? Finally, Ji-hoon uses earth magic. On another floor, they meet old enemies, goblins. Panicked, Ji-hoon automatically uses fire magic, smoothly this time. He's confused. Why do these small monsters attack when Phil's here? Phil explains, dungeon monsters don't care about power. Anyone inside is their enemy. Soon, they face a doghead tribe. Ji-hoon tries to flee, but struggles. He backflips and shoots real bullet magic, killing 2 monsters. Expecting praise, Phil only says, why the drama? After a few battles, Ji-hoon gains courage, but when more monsters appear, he panics again. Phil tosses him into the group. Fight, I've got your back. Phil's shield protects Ji-hoon, while Shi-Yi spits acid, melting monsters. Ji-hoon fights at full power. As monsters dwindle, 2 dogheads escape and return with their king. Ji-hoon feels confident until he sees the doghead king. His breath stops. Phil says, I won't help. The shield might not work this time. Ji-hoon panics, unleashing all his magic, but it has no effect. The king swings his axe, and suddenly a hidden power explodes from Ji-hoon. A massive energy blast. Everyone thinks the king is down, but he's only slightly hurt. He attacks again. Ji-hoon nearly faints. Then, Phil's real barrier activates, blocking the axe. His earlier claim was a lie. Shi-Yi finishes the king with a strong acid wash. Post-battle, Shi-Yi glows, a level up sign. When Ji-hoon wakes, he's outside the dungeon. Shi-Yi hovers worriedly. Checking his status panel, Ji-hoon sees Shi-Yi is now level 7 with boosted stats. His own stats have improved, and he's finally mastered earth magic. But seeing a baby slime outshine him, he feels a bit down. Phil returns from hunting. Outside food sucks. You cook. Ji-hoon says, I'm out of mana. So he buys rice, onions, jungle bird meat, and eggs from the supermarket. He stir-fries them, slow-cooked with spices. Phil devours it in 3 bites. Shi-Yi reserves a next bowl after half a serving. After eating, Shi-Yi calls Phil uncle. Ji-hoon smiles. This uncle is a monster, but he's cute. Their next goal is another kingdom, but a jungle with double-headed dogs and dangerous plants lies in between. The human route is safe but slow. Phil chooses the dangerous shortcut. Ji-hoon is nervous, but Phil is careless. These monsters fear even touching me. Yet, in the jungle, they're surrounded, proving some monsters are young and foolish. Double-headed dogs encircle them. Phil releases an aura, making them step back, but none flee. Phil says, stubborn kids. A dog king glares and attacks. Phil raises his paw, but Ji-hoon asks, what skill was that? Phil happily picks up Shi-Yi, cuddling him. While walking, Phil asks, what about food? Ji-hoon replies, I thought you were guarding us. Food later. Shi-Yi adds, I'm hungry. Ji-hoon calculates, 3 weeks of travel left. Meat is limited. He takes out black snake meat, seasons it, and treats it like chicken breast.